Yo, what's good, people? Welcome to the channel where we talk about music licensing, music production, and music business. If you love any of the previously mentioned, be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all my latest content and hit that bell icon so you know exactly when that new content drops. Shout out to everybody that's in the stream and the chat so far. Drop your name and your address and your phone. No, I'm playing. Don't drop all that information. That's too much personal info. But drop where you're from and what you do. I want to see what we have in the building. I see a couple people in there already. We got not Bay. Yo, like I had like 2 cups of coffee, bro. So I'm like legit super hyped right now. Early bird gets the worm. That's a fact. Gabriel from South Africa. What's good, man? Good to see you. So I'm super excited today because I got my guy XcaliberZero, aka Nathan, with us, and he's gonna help me tackle some questions on this sync space. We're gonna talk to him for a little bit, and yeah, man. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on. Excalibur, what's good, bro?
What's up, man? I appreciate you having me on.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you coming on. And yeah, dude, like I love talking about sync, as anyone who follows me can tell. I see XLO in the building. What's good? So, man, dude, I reached out to you because I really wanted to just have a conversation, because I know when I think I seen you kind of engage on some content a while back, and you had mentioned that you actually used to work for a music library, which is super interesting because I feel like you bring a unique perspective to the space, having been on that side and then being a composer yourself in the sync space. Like, how did you get into that? How did you get started, or even know, to even work for a library? Like, how did all of that happen, man?
For sure. So I started making beats like 15 years ago, which is a long time now. And I went to school at Full Sail University. And at the same time I was going, I was making music, putting it online, like on SoundClick and BeatStars before, when it was really early on. Mm-hmm. And from there, I graduated from Full Sail, and I got a opportunity to internship through their career development program. They have a lot of different opportunities there. So I saw one for a music library, and I've heard of people getting music on TV shows, but I didn't know really how the process went.
Right.
So I ended up taking the shot and interning for them for 6 months, moved out to California. And that's how I kind of got started. I was already coming on as a composer, so it was more of an incentive. They were looking for people who were a composer who can help out with like back end work, doing like metadata, doing keywords and different stuff like that. So that's how I got started in the music library sync realm.
Wow, that's super dope. So firsthand then the importance of metadata and all that stuff. What was that experience like, just being behind the scenes and working on that stuff?
It was really cool. Like, I had a lot of different hats that I had to wear with the company. So I was doing a lot of different jobs. I was sitting in editing bays. It's almost like a studio where the editors are editing the TV show. So I got to sat down and, see them editing the show, helping them pick out music. I've done cue sheets, tons and tons of cue sheets. I've done music supervision. I've helped pick out playlists and stuff like that. So the process was really cool because it gave me an opportunity to see all the different angles of that field behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And it led to a lot of cool opportunities. They like invited me to go to like the VMAs and stuff. And I sat with like, some of the production companies and stuff like that, and some of the networks. And it was a really cool process for sure.
Yeah, that's super dope, dude. Like, to be able to see that, get that hands-on experience, I'm sure that's helped you a lot, just even, in being a composer. Man, so I guess what's like, I don't know, like, as far as like submissions, do you deal with submissions when you were with the library, and, since you're kind of ingesting all of that information, like what was some of the craziest things that you've seen, or like one crazy thing that you've seen submission wise, or information wise?
I've done submissions for sure a lot. They would forward over the submissions that came in, and we pretty much check them out, and we tell them whether or not we think that they would fit with the library, and they will set up a call. Yeah. And I've seen some crazy stuff, like people would just post links of just their beats, or just check out my beats. Yeah. And I think the approach, as a producer, we think of working with artists, so we don't take the professionalism as serious. Right. So I would see a lot of just different crazy submissions like that, where it's, the professionalism is just straight gone. And, at that time, it's like we want to work with someone who's easy as possible to work with. So, having something like that just makes it a little bit, off-putting when you're trying to work with someone who's trying to, take this seriously. So yeah,
Got you.
there's been some crazy ones.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, I'm sure, man. And you're in the space of educating producers about this sync stuff too. So I know, you come across producers all the time who, it's just like the approach has to be different if you want to see results and success in sync versus just, spamming people with links and things like that.
Right.
So man, so I guess let's go to the first placement. Like, was your first placement with that library that you were working with, or did the first placement happen like way before that, or like when did that happen for you?
Yeah, it was with the library I worked with. It took me about a year, and it's because I didn't understand the structuring, the format, how TV, kind of world worked. I thought that I had to like dumb down my sound a little bit or try to make it, a certain way, or cheesy is like, the stigma with sync licensing. So I had that mindset. I had to completely shift my mindset. It took me about a year to get my first placement, and it was cool because I sat down. I was in the actual like editing bay with the editor while they're going through the tracks, and he ended up picking my track. Like it wasn't me like trying to tell him to pick my track or anything like that. It was cool just to see. It was
Yeah.
on Skin Wars on GSN.
Wow.
And it was cool. It was really cool. It was like 2015.
Yeah. So man, so it took you like a year to get to that first placement, a year to kind of figure out structure wise what was working and what wasn't. Like, how did you figure that out? Because I know everybody kind of has their own, their own story about how they, had to bump their head a few times and actually figure it out. Like, did somebody tell you, or was it just you studying, things that have already been placed? Like, what was that like for you?
It was a little bit of both. So since I was doing the keywording with the library, I was listening to all the music submissions that were being sent into the library that were accepted, and I would go through and keyword each track. So I'd kind of sit there and listen to the tracks, put out the description of how the track sounded, some keywords, and then I'll pay attention to the structure. I'll pay attention to how the intro sounded, what instruments they're using, the pace of it, and then another really good opportunity I had was one of the co-founders of the library. His name is Russell Howard. He won the ASCAP, most placed composer award like 2017, 2020,
Wow.
a few times. And I was able to sit with him in his studio multiple times and just be a student, just really sit there and watch another producer create and see how his process was. And, he's getting placements like all the time. So being able to have the opportunity really changed the game for me because it just helped me become a student and take a different approach when creating music.
Yeah, that's super dope, dude. Yeah, I think that's another big one that holds a lot of producers back is, that not having the structure right. Short intros, track building throughout and changing throughout the track to keep things interesting. So that's super dope, man. Man, so you got the first placement. You were able to sit down and watch somebody who, who's been successful in this space. I guess was sync licensing always your goal? Like, since once you started producing, was that like the goal, or were you like other producers like myself where it's just like, I just want to produce for big artists, and that was kind of the goal, and then you kind of fell in the sync?
Same goal here. So I started off wanting to produce for artists,
Yeah.
and like I said, I was doing music on SoundClick and stuff like that. So that I was having a little bit of consistency and a little bit of success with it, but not enough to really sustain off of. So then once I started getting into sync licensing, it was like a competition within myself. It was like a tug of war to figure out like which one do I really want to do. But then I realized, like, as I got more years in the field, that this led to more opportunity with artists. I'm working with more artists than ever before, and it just led to a whole different lane that I didn't even know was possible.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's been a game changer for my career. And it's crazy because like until I really got serious about sync, or when I really got serious about sync, it seemed like all of those opportunities started just started to fall in my lap, because like a lot of people just don't know how to get in the sync, and it allowed me to kind of build relationships with other people, and artists, even artists that I grew up listening to. Just it adds. I always try and tell producers, like, yo, like, this can take your career as a producer to another level, because it adds credibility that's just as powerful as producing for a major artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, your name is now connected with major networks and big TV shows and movies and brands and things like that. So super duper dope. Um,
For sure.
all right, I got a couple questions. So I keep getting this one. What's up, Marvelous Beats? He wants to know if we touched on Song Trader. What's the deal with Song Trader? Do you have any experience with Song Trader? Because I don't have any experience with Song Trader.
No, I keep hearing people talk about Song Trader, but is that like a pay to submit type of platform?
Yeah, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
I think it's like subscription based, and then they send out briefs, and then you can kind of upload your music and submit and get shortlisted and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't have much experience, but from my personal opinion, like I was back and forth on this, but I started to realize like most of these people who are making these pay to submit type of subscription libraries are focused on building a customer first, and the customer is you. You're the composer, the producer, the artist. So that usually leads to less opportunity and more saturation, in my opinion.
Yeah. Um yeah, man. I've never had success with just pay to submit platforms, and I've used a few. One of them I got we got a song like a license deal, but nothing ever came of it.
Mm.
But yeah, man, I don't know. Like I'm not about just throwing a lot of money, like especially if it's per submission. I don't know if Song
Yeah.
Trade is per submission. It may just be monthly, but I let's just go straight to the libraries, man. Like libraries don't charge you to get your music in there. So that's my approach. Was that your approach kind of starting out? Just go straight to libraries, or what was kind of your approach when trying to get your music and getting these licensing deals?
Yeah, the first approach definitely library. So I was working with the one, and then I started branching out, and then I experimented last year a little bit with a pay to submit one, and there was no success, and it was a little bit different. I realized that I was a customer at the end of the day, and they're not building as much clients as we probably think. They just have a circle of people that they work with, usually from what I've seen, and then they're just trying to cycle out through the different music for the actual client. So yeah, that's been my experience so far.
Got you. So we got what's up, Double A Hit. He says they only charge for distribution. Marlon McNichols said pro account for Song Trader. Sly the Dice says Trader is free. They manage publishing admin. I think that's Song Trust, if I'm not mistaken. But
Mm.
Double A Hit Music says Song Trader is free to submit. They only charge for distribution.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Uh, Double A Hit, man. Keep us posted. Like if anything lands. Sly the Dice with the question says, what's the biggest mental hurdle for someone at your level now, Clint? What challenges are on the horizon with the assumption we will succeed? Um, Man, biggest mental hurdle. You got I feel like you got to get it out of your own head most of the time. That's what keeps a lot of people getting started. Is just you know even at the submission level, like people don't submit because they don't feel like their music is good enough, and you're just like
Mhm.
you're the only one that you're saying that to. You know what I'm saying? Like just send it and then see what the library say, because they're the decision makers, the music supervisors. They're the decision makers at the end of the day. So I feel like a big hurdle that you have to overcome is just getting out of your own head, because most of the stuff that you're telling yourself is probably not true, and just take a chance, shoot your shot, and be open to learning new things on a consistent basis, and stay uncomfortable. Because I feel like all of my growth has always happened when I was just uncomfortable, man. What about you?
Yeah, same here. That like perfectly said. I think that I could relate to all of that, and it's definitely getting out of your own way. Your mind will play tricks on you, and I think that if you take the time to just trust yourself and trust your gut and your instinct, that a lot of times it really works out. It's going to work out for you. So I think it's
Yeah.
just being patient, being a student.
Yep. Gabriel says, how do you deal with imposter syndrome, especially when starting out? I'll let you tackle that one, Excalibur.
I think that being a creative in general, we all have our own uniqueness. You're your own person. You grew up with different experiences, with different music and different tastes of music. So being able to create from your own, perspective and experience is going to make you stand out on your own. Like I think that if you're trying to compare yourself, usually like you're getting in your own way. I think that you just need to create freely, and whatever comes out, and not try to overthink the process, and just understand that maybe if you do sound similar to another artist or another producer or whatever, that your own uniqueness, your own experiences are going to make you just a little bit different than that person, and somebody else is going to like it a little bit different because they relate to it more. So
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
fact, man. I love that. Um, yeah, and man, one thing I learned is just like, especially when you get to the point where like people are approaching you or asking you for music, like they're coming to you because you know how to do something that no one else knows how to do. And it's like, man, like there's only one you. Like it's so valuable just being yourself and doing what you do best.
for sure.
Super dope. Sly the Deuce, excellent advice. Got to stay focused and confident. Get out of your head and get in the game. That's a fact.
Yep.
So Marlon, he's giving us a little more insight. For the pro account with SongTrader is a yearly subscription. You can distribute, opt in to other monetizing platforms, and you can submit to briefs. Okay, got you. KD, much appreciated. Much appreciated.
Oh, KD.
Indeed. So man, you were working at the library for a while, and are you still there, or did you transition and stop working for the library?
So I still compose for them, but I stopped doing the admin stuff. I took myself full time in May 2020.
Okay.
And then I wanted to go straight into. I talked about this you before we got on stream, but I saw you through one of the composers that was working with them, and he had a podcast, and you were on the podcast, and I was already in the transition when I put my 2 weeks in from working with the library to start teaching this, because I understood that my experience. There was a lot of producers who were like me, who were trying to get some type of like full stream of income, some type of income where they could live off this.
Right.
So when I stopped working there and I saw your interview, it was crazy because I went to your Instagram and I was already planning on doing this. And when I saw that, that's when I commented on your Instagram saying, yo, everything you're saying is like 100% correct. I work for a music library. You're spending like a lot of gems right now. So,
yeah,
this was the lane I knew I was going to take. I just didn't know how it was going to turn out. I just wanted to teach as much people as possible and give my perspective and experiences to people who are helping out.
Yeah, that's super dope, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, man, it's still so many people who don't know. Like, I think it's what, like, licensing, sync, and all that stuff. I think it's one of those things where like people see it. It's all around you. Like, honestly, like you walk in the mall, there's music playing. You watch TV, there's music playing. You watch a movie, there's music in the movie. The commercials, there's music, and all types of stuff. There's just music everywhere. Video games, apps, all of that stuff. But people don't really think like this can be an opportunity for you to make money off of your music. And like nobody has to know who you are, like, unless you want to, brand yourself a certain way. But you can legit just like stay in your bedroom producing music for all these different, services and platforms and be good, man. So I think it's
Definitely
dope, man, when people are sharing that information and, helping the producer community, create multiple streams of income with their music.
Definitely.
Excello has a question. I'm signed to a library and I've submitted albums but not heard back from them. How long should you wait for a response?
What's up, X? I know X. He's a cool dude. If you've waited like 2 to 3 weeks and you haven't heard anything back, I would suggest follow up, just saying, hey, just wanted to figure out if you guys got my submission that I sent in. Just wanted to see if you guys liked it, if you guys wanted to send it out, or if there's something that you guys are looking for that's a little bit different. Keep that clear form of communication. I think that when you're working with these music libraries, you gotta just keep that relationship going and keep that communication going up. And the easier you are to work with, the more they're going to want to work with you. So just keeping that relationship active and healthy, and just supplying as much value and whatever they need, you're the point man. You're on point for them. So that's definitely follow up within like 2 to 3 weeks if you haven't heard back.
Nice, staying top of mind, man. And man, yo, follow up. I've gotten placements off of just a follow up, man. So definitely follow up.
Definitely.
We got my man Flares. Yo, Flares played this joint on our live music reviews last Friday. It blew like everybody away. Crazy. But his question is, having your music temp'd in the editing bay in LA is super valuable. Is there a way to recreate that value remotely? It's a great question.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you think that he means by that? By creating that value remotely, like as far as sending out to editors who are already like working from home, or
So I guess with your music being temped in the editing bay, man, like I guess I don't know, like how do you? I don't know, man. I don't think anything can replace physically being in the editing bay and just kind of developing relationships that way. Other than building a relationship with an editor that works in
right?
the, you know what I mean? And it like
Yeah, I
the,
think
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say like editors, assistant editors, music coordinators. If you're working with like any of them, music supervisors, they all usually work for a production company. If you can get in with them, you like and keep that relationship going. It's harder because production companies might not last. Like they might just do a season and then they might just be done after that. And a lot of the editors and people working with a production company are moving around. They work with they'll work for a season with one company and they'll go to another company and move around, and it's like a circle. So it all depends, but I think that if you can build that relationship, look for like editors, assistant editors, music coordinators, music associates, music supervisors, junior music supervisors. If you can build that relationship, that's the best way you can do that, probably remotely. It's hard though, but
Yeah.
it takes time. But Flares is dope. I've heard his music too. He's crazy.
Yes,
He's on
it's
another level.
insane. Yeah, indeed, man. I think he had like everybody leave the stream and go work on that craft. As far as trailer music, like it was crazy. So would you say like, reaching out to an editor or like somebody like that is working for a production company that may not necessarily be the music supervisor, would you say they're a little bit easier to get in touch with than a supervisor?
No, I think they're a little bit harder in my opinion because there's a filter system that's going through. So if the show does have a music supervisor, it's filtering through. The music supervisor is kind of like the A&R, so they're picking out all the music that they need for the show. The editor's telling them, hey, we need a lot of stuff for end scene stuff, so we need a lot of underscore dialogue, beds and stuff like that, or we need a lot of high energy scene opener, hip hop tracks or whatever. The music supervisor, if there is one, is usually going out picking out all that music, sending it to the assistant editor who's ingesting it into their system, and then from there the editor is just kind of working. But if you're able to build a relationship with an editor by finding one, it takes time. It's like a certain way you have to do it. You have to kind of just it's hard because they're very busy, but if you can build that relationship where you're kind of having a form of communication and saying like, hey, if there's anything that you having trouble finding as far as fitting certain scenes, I could be the person to create that for you. I can do it within 24 hours, whatever tight deadlines you have, and turn that in. If you could do that, that would be, a really huge incentive, but it's hard. Like I said, usually, in my opinion, I feel like it's a lot easier to work with the music library because the music supervisors are hitting up the library, or the production companies hitting up the library and telling them this is exactly what we need, and then they have people going in there just making as much as possible for that show.
Nice. So pretty much going the music library route, you're putting your music where people are already looking, where the editors, the supervisors, all that stuff are already going to. So it kind of, you don't have to play the whole chasing game, being connected with the library.
Right.
Nice, man. That actually reminds me. I had a situation. This was, man. It might have been like 3 years ago now. But an editor, he was like, I don't know. He was like a new like editor or something. I don't know. What the situation was, but Viacom was pretty much like working on a bunch of like reality show stuff, and they had like a whole slew of editors just working on different scenes and stuff. So one had actually reached out because he was a composer, and now I'm like, yo, like I need to like find that dude and start and keep building with him. But he had reached out. He was just like, yo, like your music is dope. Like I just placed a ton of it in these scenes that I was working on, and I guess he was trying to learn more about actually trying to get his music in. We talked. We exchanged info and talked a couple times, but I got to follow up on that. It just reminded me.
Oh,
to do that.
definitely.
Yeah.
If he's still doing it, he's probably like way more versed in a lot of different shows now. That's a good move. I feel like working with editors is probably like the craziest thing you could do as far as getting opportunity, because they jump around so much. They're working on so many different shows usually.
Yeah.
So like they building that relationship is, and you can find them on Instagram. If you, I think there's like a hashtag for like music editors or something like that. Or if you on TikTok, actually, I've been seeing a lot like pop up on my like comments and stuff like that, saying, "Yo, I'm an editor. This is this is exactly what we use and stuff like that." So they're
Wow.
out there. They're out there, and they when they hear music that's good, they get hyped. Like they like hearing good music. They're going through so much music, or they're doing so much editing on the TV show that it's like, it's kind of draining for them. So when they hear something that gives them energy, they like that.
Yeah, man, that's a fact. So, okay, so you've worked with a music library. You've seen the cue sheets and things like that. Like, what's an idea you can give the people of like how many tracks could be used or how many pieces of music could be used in like an episode of something?
Yeah, so shows that are an hour long, you're seeing easily 80 to like 120, like easily. I've seen 150, 100. There's a lot of different music that's being used, and it's because like if you listen to the music, usually in reality TV, especially, that there's a lot of different scenes going on. There's like a lot of different, they're trying to keep it interactive and keeping your attention and stuff like that. So there could be like 7-second clips, or they can be full 1 minute, 2 minute tracks. So there's a lot of music that's being used, and that's just one episode. You
One
think about
episode.
eight, yeah, you think about like eight uh episodes per season, or at least that's a lot of different music. It's like 800 to 1,000, well over a
Sheesh.
thousand tracks.
Yeah, and that's just one show. Like
Right.
you still have all these shows on all these networks, all these streaming platforms, services. Yeah, man, it's a lot of music that's needed for sure. But you dropped a gem, man, and you mentioned TikTok, finding editors on TikTok, because sometimes people hit me up like, "Yo, like, where do I find people who want music?" Like like they're humans like us. Like you can find them
Hmm.
on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Um, but yeah, man, like I always tell people, man, like just stalk people, man. Like go through the credits and start doing research and seeing if you can find these people, and just start engaging on their content or creating content that actually draws them into your world. And you'd be surprised, man, the amount of opportunities that can come your way from doing that.
100%.
Yeah. Let's see. Sly the Dude says, do you guys manage all of your own records and admin, or do you outsource those functions to protect creative time?
So music libraries that you're working with exclusively, and I want to say non-exclusively too, they're doing all that admin work. They're doing all that back end work. That's kind of why I wanted to leave what I was doing so I can focus more on music.
Mhm.
But yeah, usually you're the one creating music, and they have all that extra work that they're doing. There's a lot that goes into that too. So they want to save you time to create more, and that's why they take a piece, percentage of the track.
Yep.
But yeah, usually they'll do that. The
Yep.
music library.
Indeed, man. It allows you to focus on creating. You send it off and you're done. They do their thing. Will Khan says, what are some music libraries you recommend?
It depends on what type of music you make, really. I mean, there's no like correct answer to this question. I feel like, because I get this question a lot. It
Yeah.
really kind of depends on the music that you make, and the best thing that you can do for yourself is go on these and Google, or go on these music library directories and look at these different libraries and just do your research. If you go onto, let's say, a Stream Music or Jingle Punks, and you go on their website and you hear their music that they're using, and let's say they're using Afro beats, right? But you understand, like you see that they don't have like Afro pop, or like a certain style that you think that you can really excel in. That's the best bet for you. You can really take over a library by just having one distinct sound and taking over that sound, like, or hyper pop is like a new wave right now that's going on. If you
Wow.
can figure out a way to get your music in that library and be the main source of hyper pop, that's the best way for you to like kind of, and it could be any genre, just be ahead of the sound, or figuring out where you can fit specifically is really going to help you out. So that's
Yeah,
my best recommendation for that question.
that's dope. Love it. Don Music says, this is great information. Thank you. No doubt, man. That's what we're here for. Um, Venus, loving the information. Appreciate you. Soul music, R&B. Yeah, that's I agree, man. Just googling music libraries, throwing, whatever genre you do in front or behind that keyword. Um Yeah, super dope. Marco says, "What's the best way to send music to potential clients? Google Drive, SoundCloud, Box, etc." What do you recommend, especially having worked with a music library?
I recommend Dropbox or Disco. I don't recommend SoundCloud or Google Drive as much because one Google Drive sometimes it'll mess up and
I
it won't be
hate
able to
Google
play.
Drive. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a mess. And then SoundCloud, if you play like two tracks, the third track usually is an ad. So you don't want to, break their attention on your music by having an ad and waiting 30 seconds to hear your track. So I always recommend Box, especially, or Disco or Dropbox, especially because you can see the waveform. And
hmm
usually it's nice to be able to see the waveform so you can see like the edit point. Like you can kind of tell how the track is gonna feel just by seeing the waveform. So that's usually why I recommend that. I definitely recommend Disco though overall. It is pay to submit after I think your 30-day trial, but you pay like a one-time subscription fee or something, or maybe you pay monthly.
yeah, it's about
But
monthly.
you'll be able to see the waveform. It's very professional. It's becoming an industry standard, especially with music supervisors and stuff like that. And you can import your own metadata within the track on Disco. So it's cool. If you send out a link on Disco, you can see if someone has opened it. If you sent an email with the Disco link directly, you can see if that email that you sent opened it and stuff like that. So a lot of
Yeah,
cool features on Disco. I definitely recommend that one.
yeah, Disco's fire, bro. Um, yeah, Google Drive, bro. It's so weird, dude. Like
Mhm.
sometimes even working with other people, I'll get it, and like if you log in with the wrong email, then you got to ask for permission, and it's way
Yep.
too many steps sometimes. And it's
Yes.
it's it's not that nice to stream music from either,
No. Not at all.
depending on the size. So super dope. Excello or XL, what type of music have you guys been seeing in briefs lately? It's a good question.
Uh, Definitely like the up tempo, like Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, like that type of vibe, like plucky. Like if you listen to like, I think Up instrumentals, and I've talked to X about this before, but Up instrumental is like a really good reference. It sounds like a dramedy track. A lot of these tracks that you hear on the radio are references, and it's just kind of about infusing it in the TV style. But I feel like that track Up by Cardi B is like a perfect example. There's a track by Doja Cat that's new too, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
They have that pace, they have the comedic feel. It's like very staccato and not too legato and like sustaining and stuff like that. It's very plucky and it fits perfect for TV and it has an up tempo beat. Sounds very uh you know modern. So those are the ones that I'm seeing. I'm seeing less of those strings, which you hear all over reality TV.
Yeah.
Less of mallets as well, and they want more of that modern sound. So that's what I've been seeing so far. And then I also see like Kanye, like always see a lot of Kanye, like Black Skinhead, like
Yeah, that black
just
skinheads is
yeah, that's like
the
the
most
reference
requested
point.
ever.
Yeah, for sure. There's always that type of sound too. So that's what
Yeah.
I see a lot of.
Yeah, man. Lately I've been seeing a lot of like Silk Sonic, Bruno Mars
Mm.
kind of stuff, so like funk soul, R&B stuff. Um been seeing a lot of like high energy sports stuff, like sports themes, winning,
Oh yeah.
taking over, conquering, on top, stuff like that. What else? What else have I seen? And then yeah, like all the stuff you mentioned, the up tempo stuff, man. Like a lot of times, anything that's like top of the charts, a lot of times they start replicating that vibe, in a lot of this
Yep.
this sync music. So yeah, man, it's been some cool stuff. Gabriel says Google Drive is the pits. Yeah, man, it's like it's crazy, and it's crazy because I use it as well for like parts of my business, but it's like it's one of those things, man, where it's kind of hard to, it's hard to, it's just hard to keep it smooth, man. It's just always something.
Yeah.
Um, Marco says, have you found working with music libraries more work for hire type deals?
In my experience, it depends. Mostly, I usually like to stay away from work for hire. I mean, work for hire is good because sometimes you can get an upfront fee and stuff like that, which is nice. And work for hire is just another way of saying like custom music. So if they want a track that sounds like Cardi B up, they're gonna request it. They'll, the production company or the network will pay for it and stuff like that. So you'll see some of them. they're not bad to work with, but you usually want to stay in the library and work on non-custom stuff. I prefer, just because from my experience, what I've seen, if you get your music in a music library, that track can live in multiple shows. So if you have that track in their library, let's say they have 30,000 tracks and you send in like 10 tracks a week or something like that, those tracks are living within that library. If they send that music out to all the production companies that they're working with, that those tracks are going to circulate through that system. So
Yeah.
that's what I prefer. But work for hire is still good too as well, because like I said, you can get an upfront fee for it. It's a good way to get money quick if you need it. You don't want to wait 9 months for a royalty check, or 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. Man, just kind of balancing things out, grab a little upfront money here, start building
Right.
the royalty catalog there, and yeah, man, make it happen. Desiree Holiday, what's good, Desiree? She says, how do you get to a point where you start receiving briefs directly?
You definitely have to build that relationship. So after the point of getting accepted, like I said earlier, I feel like you really need to keep that relationship going. Communicate with them. Say, hey, do you guys need any music? Is there anything that you guys need help? Filling out as far as any requests that you guys have. I'm here available 24/7. I'm here available. 24/7. And then send them a link. Here's 10 new tracks that I worked on this week that I think you guys might find that will fit well for the library and stuff like that. And keeping that relationship. And once they see that you're hungry and you keep popping up in their face, they're gonna be like, all right, I have this music that I need tomorrow. You're gonna be the first person they think of, because they're like, this person is reliable. Let me send them this brief for these tracks that I need for the quick turnaround I have. So having that relationship and just keeping that communication and keeping it personable, like you don't need to be like buddy buddy with them or best friends with them, but just being someone that you can rely on, and then keeping a conversation. Hey, do you guys make music as well? Would love to check out your music as well. Just something that doesn't just make it about you, but more making about how can I provide value to you? How can we build that relationship? That's the best way, I feel like, is making that relationship.
Yeah, definitely agree, man. It's one of those things, man. Like show people you can help them by helping them. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and that's happened to me personally with libraries where just submitting consistently, and just checking in frequently, keeping that line of communication open. Quick special projects pop up all the time, and you want to be top of mind when that happens, and when it does happen, deliver. And you'll find more of those opportunities kind of coming your way.
Definitely.
Venus says, how can I get my sci-fi beats into sci-fi movies? That's a good question.
You would have to figure out who's working on these sci-fi movies, and looking at the production companies or the music supervisors who have credits with these sci-fi movies, and then reaching out to them directly and building that relationship, or look at music libraries who have credits working with sci-fi. And music libraries, I've noticed, for the most part, usually work with a certain amount of network. So let's say NBC, they own not just NBC, they own Bravo, they own E. So if Viacom owns MTV, VH1, Nickelodeon. So finding those libraries who have that relationship, usually they have deals with them. And when they have deals, they're servicing, like Clint said earlier that he was working with, like, for, Viacom, and Viacom had a lot of editors and stuff like that. Being able to work with those libraries who have those deals is going to bring you more opportunity, because they only want to work with a handful of libraries in some cases, especially for the bigger networks. So if you're finding the people who are working for those, those library or those networks who have those deals, you're going to find a lot of opportunity for yourself if you can get in with them.
Yeah, agree. And man, like what I want you all to grab from what he just said, like, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but he gave you the principle. So no matter what the genre is, no matter what style of music, movies, whatever, the approach is still the same. Do the research, find out who's behind the scenes working on the music, and then reach out. So no matter what you do, that principle is going to be the same for everything across the board. If it's a video game placement, finding some type of contact for, or developer who's working on that video game or working on the sound or whatever. If it's a commercial, finding the ad agency that may work with a particular brand that you could see your music fitting with. Shoot, like it's so many different mediums, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, the approach is the same. Doing the research, digging, stalking people a little bit, and and reaching out, you know?
Definitely.
Gabriel says, that's how I got my scoring / music director role on a recent movie. A friend of mine hit me up after hearing the EP I was working on, and now I got to score an entire movie, also deliver firework. That's super dope. Congrats on that, Gabriel.
Yeah. Big congrats.
Yeah, man. And dude, like that's dope. So this happened from a friend of his, which brings up another good point, is just like not ignoring the people who are coming up with you, like, right, just networking across, right? Not always looking for people who are like already on, but man, one thing I wish I would have did more of is like networking in college, you know what I mean? Because
Oh yeah.
people, you don't know what people are going to end up doing for their career, you know what I mean? And you could meet somebody who ends up being an editor, a music supervisor for a show, or a film director or film producer or something like that, and because because you're friends and you stay in touch, you're like the first person that comes to mind when it comes to music, because 9 times out of 10, if they're just starting out, they probably don't have anybody to do the music. So that's a great opportunity for you to get on and start building that relationship. And when one person blows up, everybody blows up,
100%. That's perfectly said. Honestly, that's like one of the most slept on traits I feel like anybody can have is networking. Being able to have that relationship with someone, just being top of mind with any opportunity they may have in the future or whatever. So yeah, it's important.
Indeed, man. So you created a course to help producers and artists and songwriters or whoever's trying to get their music in sync. Like, how did that come about, and like what? Because I know anybody who takes time to create a course is passionate about teaching people, because it's not like an easy thing. Like, oh, just up and create something that can help people. So like, what pushed you to to do that, and just I guess talk about that process, man.
Yeah, so I definitely wanted to be able to teach what I knew. I had so many different angles of what I knew from the experience working with the library for 7 years. And I knew that I had to, like, I knew that producers and artists, if they understood the steps that you need to take, they can do this. Especially if you're like confident in your sound, you're confident in your music, you can definitely do this. I know that for a fact, like this is very accessible.
Yeah.
So, my process was kind of thinking, how can I make this as digestible as possible? And I think that having a course where you're like kind of holding the person's hand, going step by step, is the approach that I think would help the most. So that's why I created the course. I definitely feel like it's helped a lot of people so far. I've explained as much as possible, and I keep adding to it as I go. So I think that just being able to communicate to our audience, I feel like music producers and artists, especially if they don't know this lane, when they hear the word sync, it's like, what is sync? What is sync licensing and stuff like that? But making it as simple and communicative as possible, and kind of giving a blueprint. Like we talked about this earlier, but like, structure, all that stuff just matters, and it's important. If you can understand that, and you can understand how to build up relationships, you can take this and make it into a career. It's definitely accessible to anybody who's just, like I said, confident in their sound. So that was kind of my point of mind when I made this course, is just to help out as many people as possible. I want to help 100 different musicians this year get their first placement. We're on 10, and it's a long process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, but it's happening, and it's crazy to be able to see the growth in the process so far. And I love working with community and teaching people. I've been on YouTube for a long time. There's old videos from like 2013, me teaching how to mix and stuff like that. So like I said, you're right. I feel like it is a process, and I commend you as well, because I know you do this as well. And it's cool. It's cool to be able to help out the community and be a part of it.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, man. Like, I feel like I get more excited, man, seeing somebody take information that we share and go out and make it happen and get that first licensing deal, that first placement, that first royalty check, man. It's super inspiring because, and I'm sure you remember too, like how that felt when that first happened for you, and to be able to see somebody else feel that way, man, it's really rewarding. So that's super dope, man. Sabertooth Beats, he said, do you think there's a place for instrumental piano music in sync.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. That was like one of the first briefs I had was an instrumental piano track, and I didn't get it, but yeah, it's definitely there's a lot of different areas where that can fit.
Yeah, super dope. Flair says, appreciate you guys. What's cool about trailers is that they can be used for promos TV as well. Had a trailer air on the Patriots game the other week. Would love to hear you guys cook up some trailers. Man, hey, real talk, you inspired me to go make some trailers. Like the closest I got hit up to do some like trailerized R&B. But nah, like now I want to sit down and like create some epic trailer music with big drums and stuff like that. So yeah, man, stay tuned. I'm gonna cook some stuff up. Gabriel says both of you have incredible content. Nathan's Discord is so inspiring. That's super dope, man. Where
I appreciate it.
tell people where they can find your Discord, your course, or whatever, anything about XcaliberZero.
Oh yeah, if you go to XcaliberZero.com, you can find like all that stuff. XcaliberZero.com/free is where you can find the Discord, a music library directory, like templates as well. I like to put all that stuff on there. And even if you don't have the budget for a course, don't even worry about it. I don't gatekeep. All this stuff that I'm telling you right now, I talk about on my YouTube, talk about on Instagram, TikTok. It's
Yeah.
all XcaliberZero, so that's where you can find me if you're looking for more information.
Super dope. So we got time. We got time for a few more questions, man. If you guys have some more questions for XcaliberZero, drop them in the chat. But this has been a super dope conversation, man. Again, like I told you before, man, the fact that you kind of have that experience coming from a library is super valuable, man. Because you just you know what it looks like on the inside.
Right, for sure.
Gabriel says, then you have to check out Damage 2. Yes, I've heard some of that stuff. They make some dope stuff. For like the, epic trailer music, scoring stuff. Super duper dope. So man, what's some recent projects you've been working on, or some recent placements?
I've been working on a lot of stuff for like Bravo, so I've been doing stuff for like Below Deck. There's been some Viacom stuff that I've been working on. Usually when you do Viacom, it's like you're turning in tracks for multiple different shows. So
Right.
they ask for certain references as far as a style. I'm doing a brief tomorrow for this. I think it's on TLC. It's called Unorthodox Life.
Okay.
Like I said, Bling Empire, which is on Netflix.
Yep.
A lot of different stuff, and then also I do albums where I'll submit to like Killer Tracks. I think you talked about them before, and then
Yep.
they'll have like an album of tracks that they'll place on like different like content that they're working on as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I feel like it's always busy. There's always different things that we're working on as far as
Absolutely.
briefs and stuff.
Yeah, man. I just finished up a couple. Well, one wasn't like a full album. It was just it was about 5 tracks. I guess EP. I don't know, but yeah, did that, and I did another album for a company. But yeah, that's another dope opportunity, man. Like some of these libraries, like they'll commission you to do like a full album of stuff, and then you complete the album, and then they send it off, and it, like you said, you working with like a company, like with them working with a company like Viacom, like it ends up all over the place, man.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, so you talked about this earlier a little bit, right? A couple of minutes ago, you said that you love helping the producer community and stuff like that, getting, their first royalty check, getting them to their first library. When you got your first royalty check, and still now, does it still feel the same, like almost like Christmas, where you're like, even this week we're getting one? I feel if you were BMI, you're with BMI, right?
I'm with CSAC, so we get
Oh yeah,
ours
you're with
after
CSAC. That's
yours.
the.
Yeah, we
Oh
gotta
yeah,
wait.
yeah. It feels like Christmas every time. I feel like when you see your check coming in the next day, you're like waiting at like 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. whenever deposit and stuff like that. Does it still feel like that for you?
Absolutely, dude. Like it never gets old, man. Cause like
Right.
it's exciting because like we can't keep track of everything that's getting used, right? So
Right.
it's exciting to get the check, but then it's also exciting to go through the statement and see like
Yes.
what's been getting used, kind of see which tracks have been getting used the most, so you can go back, create more tracks like that. which is a nice little hack, man. Like if you want to double down on some stuff that's working, study your royalty statement.
100%, definitely.
But yeah, man, I love it. Definitely feels like Christmas every time those checks come through.
For sure.
Yeah. Black Keys Music says, is it possible to get his social media handle in the chat? Yeah, I'll type it in the chat. XcaliberZero. There we go. Boom. And then make sure you follow him on YouTube. Do you go by the same name on YouTube as well?
Yeah, it's just all XcaliberZero.
Dope. Creative says, yes, sir. Got my royalties yesterday with BMI. Man, that came around quick. It always sneaks up on me. And everybody with BMI reminds me that, in a couple more weeks I'll have mine. But it's super exciting.
That's dope. Yeah. Big congrats on that.
Indeed. Yo, like, have you been hearing stories about ASCAP and people, like, just feeling weird about ASCAP and getting their royalties, or like some placements not showing up in their royalty checks? Like, this is something that I've been hearing from multiple people.
I haven't been hearing that, but I have been seeing people switch from ASCAP to BMI.
I've been seeing that.
That's I've been seeing that people switch over, and it's crazy because you have to pay to be a writer on there. So I can't imagine why they would. Yeah, if you're a writer on ASCAP, you have to pay for an application, but for BMI, it's free to sign up as a writer.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I have no, like, I'm with ASCAP as a publisher, but
right.
I don't do a whole lot like with them. Like most of the other writers that I may be working with is like BMI. But yeah, I was just curious because I keep hearing stuff and people talking about switching and all that stuff. I'm like, man, what's going on over there?
Yeah, that's weird, man.
Yeah.
That's definitely not something to get into.
Yeah. So let me see. We'll probably take a couple more questions, and then we won't hold you, man, because I know you got briefs to work on. I got briefs to work on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. Like Viacom's definitely been ramping up.
Oh yeah.
It's probably like at least 3 briefs from them with like 4 different styles of music that I've gotten this week. So I'm gonna go through there and see what's up.
I like their briefs too, because I mean, now they used to have like references, but now they don't really use references, and you can be like it's like make like dark pop, or R&B crossover, or they let you experiment a lot. I feel like with their style, They want like a specific sound, but the style you can make it, you can experiment, like romantic R&B or stuff like that. So it's cool.
Yeah. Is that something you see a lot too? Like I've been seeing a lot of like fusion genres, you know what I mean? Like you said, like romantic R&B or like hip hop tension. Do you see a lot of that in the briefs that you get too?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's usually, sometimes, or not usually, but for the most part, you'll see a lot of like different crossovers and stuff like that. Especially with Viacom, I feel like the most they kind of like to push the sound and the envelope as far as keeping current with their music. So yeah, you'll see that a lot with them.
Indeed. Will Khan, Clint, you probably covered this a bunch, but why did you pull your course down? I was planning on grabbing him, been super swamped. I pulled it down. I said no more. Nobody else is gonna get placements. No, so this is why I pulled it down. I pulled it down because it's time for a revamp, man. Like I created that a while ago, and through working, because I actively work in the space. It's not something I just created and then I stopped doing it. Like I've actively been working in the space. So it's just like new things that I've seen would be helpful to go along with that information. So I'll actually be relaunching it sometime soon. I won't give you a specific date, but I'll be relaunching it sometime soon. So if you want to join the wait list for that, then just go to clintproductions.com/waitlist, so you can be waitlisted for Road to 10 Placements 2.0. So it's gonna be fire. But
it's gonna be dope.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I know a lot of people were asking me like, wait, like what? Why? Alvin Alexander says, how are opportunities for a cappella music, but with melodies only? I don't see a lot of a cappella briefs.
unless you're talking about like just like a guitar over, like the singer songwriter vibe, like a guitar over vocals, you'll see that. But
Yeah.
acapella with melody only. Yeah, you don't just see acapella. I usually don't see that. They'll ask for stems of just acapella,
Yeah.
but you won't. I usually don't see just acapella requests going.
I had an artist ask me that. And yeah, like my recommendation is like if you have acapellas, produce them into full songs, or find a guitarist or piano player to turn it into a full song. Because if you have the full song, now you have the full song and the instrumental. Excuse me.
Right.
And then of course, when you send stems, you may have to send acapellas, but rarely have I heard just like the acapella of something being used. Like the only time I think the acapella really came in handy was when they went and trailerized some R&B songs that we did, for obvious reasons, because that was sent to like a trailer composer. So he was able to kind of chop stuff up, throw it where he wanted to throw it, and then just kind of go from there. Do you think a musician based in Asia can be considered for sync? Absolutely.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm sure they probably have companies over there.
Yep,
Anywhere, man. I know one composer. He was here in the States, and he was just talking about how he was just like he was pitching stuff in Australia, and was like, he was just like, man, I should have did this a long time ago versus focusing in the States. But yeah, it's opportunities all around the world.
100%.
Is having a track with vocal samples allowed? No. It's a hard no. Like, unless it's like your own vocal sample, or you like brought a vocalist in, then I would say no, man. Your perspective with working with the library, how did you all deal or handle, if at all, samples and loops and things like that?
So for the library, like it was different back then. Like a lot of the stuff that was sent out, a lot of people would use loops, but now they're cracking down on it a lot right now.
Yeah.
But I've seen vocal samples, but it's like if it's like arcade or if somebody's bought it offline, they chopped it up, but it has to be royalty free for sure.
Yeah.
And those usually place well like for scene openers, but if it's like a sample that you like cut off like a acapella or something like that, you cannot use. Like if it has to be royalty free, and I recommend like chopping them up like kind of like arcade. Like if you use arcade, it's usually okay. I feel like because arcade you can keep it pretty unique as far as the BPM and the way that you structure the samples that you cut up and stuff like that. So that's what I've seen. I've seen them use a lot as scene openers, for like the vocal chops and stuff.
Yeah. I've gotten a brief for like vocal chop music, but like you said, like it had to be royalty free. And you definitely had to like make it super unique. But now, man, like I'm seeing, I recently signed a licensing deal with the company, and so you see your normal, licensing agreement. They had like an attachment to the agreement focused specifically on samples and loops, and you had to like check and sign that you own 100% of everything. You didn't use any loops, so like they've been super cracking down on this stuff.
I think that's kind of good though, because that's going to lead you to more opportunity. If you're working with a library like that, that means they're working with people who demand that, which means that that's more opportunity for you.
Yeah. So yeah, man. Yeah, and people always ask me, it's like, what? Like I just stay away from them because, like with Splice and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're cracking down on that for sure.
Yeah. Marvelous Beat says, who is better, Song Trader or Taxi? I can't speak on it.
Yeah, I don't have experience with either, but I think we talked about this earlier. I don't recommend paying to submit. I recommend doing the research. Like if you just Google music library directories and you just spend a little bit of time on there, you'll find a ton of libraries, and a lot of them are free. Most of them are free.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man, because they split stuff with you, and they get paid when you get paid.
Exactly.
So, B. Scott with the last question of the stream. Hey, fellas, all good info. Scenario: you are working for a library and getting placements on a reality show. You end up running across the music soup for that show. This is an ethics question. Do you submit with that soup directly?
Oh man, that is an ethics question. I feel like if you do that, I would communicate with the library. Just let them know. I don't like going over people's heads like that, just because you don't want to be like just like blacklisted and stuff like that from that library and missing out on opportunities because you were trying to work with a music soup. And you're gonna get more. I feel like you're gonna get more opportunity with the music library than you are a music soup. A music soup is getting a lot of different music a lot of different times, and it's all specific for them. They could be working on multiple shows, and they're more so looking for things that fit a style. So I just heard something recently where somebody was talking about how they needed something very specific, and they just went in their email real quick and looked up that style, and somebody who sent a track, it popped up for them, and they reached out to them and let them know that they used it. So
wow,
it's more like a one base, a handful of base opportunity with the music soups for specific shows, as opposed to libraries. But if you can find music soups that you can build relationships with, that's really big. Especially I feel like as an artist, that's artists I feel like benefit from it pretty well. Composers, like producers and stuff like that, it can definitely benefit you as far as like getting a bigger piece of you're gonna get your full 200%, 100 of the writers, 100 of the publishing, but it's not gonna be a lot of different opportunity, I feel like, as opposed to working with the library.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like if you're working with the library, you see the soup, yeah, man. Like I like what you said. Like communicate with the library. I've even seen where the music supervisor was just like, yo, like let me know that you work with a library, like if it's a library that the music soup goes to, and then maybe they'll just go and like pull your music from that library, so that way you're not risking that relationship. Because I've been in situations where like we were working with like on music for like a big production company, and it was in the agreement, like you can't go reach out to this production company. Yeah, it's like people, the word to get like people don't understand like how small this sync licensing space really is, man. Like at the end of the day, people talk and word will get around super quick, and then you'll find your opportunities drying up because people is just like, yo, this dude did this, stay away from him. Next thing you know, your inbox is looking kind of dry.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, man, always be mindful of the relationships that you have, and respect those relationships, and respect like what that library had to go through to just build a relationship with that supervisor, man.
Definitely.
Because it's a lot of work. So super dope, man. Listen, I won't hold you. You're a busy guy. But I appreciate you coming through, man. Let the people know, and you said it before, but remind them where they can find you, where they can check out your course and learn more about you, bro.
Definitely. I appreciate you. Like I said, I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm a big fan of your work as well. Like you said, I have a different angle. You have a different angle as well as far as teaching this part of the community, and I love what you're doing. Thank you. You're giving out a lot of valuable information. And like I said before I even got into the teaching space of this, like you're giving out really valuable information that's very accurate. So much respect to you. If you're looking to get more information from me, I'm on XcaliberZero.com, or you can just search all of my socials, XcaliberZero. And if you go to XcaliberZero.com/free, there's a lot of free stuff for people out there to access, as far as like the Discord community. We're a growing community. We help each other out. We share different libraries, different resources, loops, samples, stuff like that. We're really it's a dope community. It's dope to see that people come together and just work together on it. And it's not about me, it's about us and what we can do to help each other get to that next level. And like I said, yeah, XcaliberZero. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, whatever type of content you like to consume, you can find me on there. And yeah, there's no gatekeeping or anything like that. Any questions that you have, I'll answer, as long as it's not like how much I get paid or something like that. Like I'm willing to answer any questions you have.
Indeed, man. Much appreciated. You guys make sure you check them out. I dropped that website in the chat. Nathan, Excalibur, man, I appreciate you coming through. Have a dope week, and we'll always be in touch, man, engaging on social media.
Definitely, man. I'll talk to you soon, bro. I appreciate it.
All right, no doubt. Peace.
Peace.